You're out there looking for a thermal scope that actually lets you get a clean shot without having to become a tech wizard. And you're also trying to avoid the nightmare of a pricey piece of glass that dies on the first weekend you take it into the field. That's why a lot of people pause before pulling the trigger on a new thermal optic. They worry about battery life, about whether the image will be useful in the real world, and whether the extra gadgets like a ballistic calculator are just marketing fluff. If you're still on the fence, you're not alone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through what the ATN ThOR 4 actually brings to a day-out hunt, and more importantly, where it might fall short for the everyday shooter. The first thing to notice is that this isn't just a scope you mount and forget. It's a full-blown platform that pairs a thermal sensor with Wi-Fi connectivity, dual-stream video, and a recoil-activated recording mode. In practice, that means you can see a clear heat signature at up to 1,250 yards, tag that image on your phone, and even capture a video of the moment the rifle recoils without having to fumble with a separate recorder. Who should consider the ThOR 4? If you already hunt in low-light or dense brush and you've been frustrated by the limits of a standard night vision scope, this is the kind of tool that can finally give you a consistent picture. The ultra-sensitive next-gen sensor does a solid job of pulling out heat signatures on a cool evening, which is exactly the scenario where many hunters miss the chance. The sensor's sensitivity translates into a usable image even when the ambient temperature is just a few degrees above the target's body heat, so you're not stuck waiting for a temperature differential to spike. Another group that will find value here are tactical shooters or law enforcement professionals who need to document what they see. The dual-stream video recording lets you capture a thermal view for analysis while simultaneously saving a visible light video for later review. The recoil-activated video (RAV) feature is a neat trick. As soon as the rifle kicks back, the scope automatically starts recording, so you never have to remember to hit a button after a shot. That's a real time saver when you're moving fast, and can be the difference between having solid evidence and nothing at all. On the flip side, if you're a casual hunter who only goes out a few times a year and you're happy with a simple red or a basic thermal that shows you a silhouette, the ThOR 4 may feel like overkill. The learning curve for the integrated apps: you need to sync with an iOS or Android device, set up the Ballistic calculator, and manage Wi-Fi connections. Can be a hassle if you just want to point and shoot. There's also the weight factor. Because it packs a battery, a processor, and a fairly large sensor, the unit sits heavier on the rail than a minimalist scope. In a long day of tracking, that extra ounce or two can become noticeable, especially if you're already carrying a full load. Battery life is often the silent deal-breaker for thermal optics, and ATN tries to address that with an ultra-low power profile. In field reports, the claim is that the scope can sit idle for weeks and still have enough juice for a day of active hunting. What that really means is you'll need to keep an eye on the charge indicator and make a habit of swapping batteries before you head out. If you're used to a scope that runs for an entire season on a single set of cells, the ThOR 4 will require a little more planning. The good news is the battery is user replaceable, so you can carry spares without having to send the whole unit back to a service center. Let's talk about the Ballistic calculator. At first glance, it sounds like a feature you'd only need in a high-tech rifle system. In practice, though, it can save a lot of guesswork. You input your cartridge, range, and environmental data, and the scope gives you a holdover point on the thermal image. For someone who hunts at variable distances, that can reduce the number of missed shots caused by misreading a range or wind. However, it's not a magic bullet. The calculator depends on accurate inputs. If you misenter the temperature or altitude, you'll still end up off target. So you need to be comfortable with a bit of data entry before you rely on it fully. A real-world scenario that highlights both the strengths and the quirks of the ThOR 4 is a dusk hunt in mixed hardwood. You've got the sun setting, the temperature dropping, and a herd of deer moving through a stand of trees. With the next-gen sensor, you can spot the heat signatures of the animals even as the light fades, and you can lock onto a specific animal using the scope zoom. As you take the shot, RAV kicks in, capturing a short clip of the